This video covers a sensitive subject, but the crux of it comes at 7 minutes 30 seconds, so if you are so inclined, please stop the video right there. As the scriptwriter, I feel the need to warn you, as I myself felt uncomfortable including this work, but it is of historical importance. Erotic literature has been a part of human culture for millennia, reflecting not only sensuality but also broader cultural, philosophical, and artistic expressions of love, desire, and taboo. Many texts have left a lasting legacy due to their explicit content, rich imagery, and exploration of sexual themes. Here's a look at some of the most famous erotic texts in history, spanning various genres and eras. The Kama Sutra, from India, dating back to the 3rd to 6th century CE, is one of the most well-known erotic texts. Written by Vatsyayana, it's much more than a manual of sexual positions. It's an ancient Hindu text that deals with the philosophy and theory of love, relationships, and pleasure, or kama. While the erotic content is famous, only a small part of the text is dedicated to sexual techniques. The rest discusses the art of living, romance, and the roles of men and women in society. The Kama Sutra is structured in a way that explores the human pursuit of pleasure and how it fits into the broader context of life's goals, making it a cornerstone of ancient literature on love and sexuality. The Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio, written in Italy in 1353, is a collection of 100 short stories told by a group of young people sheltering from the Black Death in the countryside. While it is a work of humor, wit, and social commentary, many of the stories are deeply erotic or bawdy in nature, exploring themes of sexual escapades, infidelity, and forbidden love. Boccaccio's depictions of desire, especially among the clergy, challenged societal norms and became a model for erotic literature in the Renaissance. The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu from Japan in the 11th century is regarded as the world's first novel. It tells the story of courtly love, politics, and the complex romantic life of the titular character Prince Genji. Though not purely erotic, the text contains richly detailed descriptions of relationships, seduction, and sexual desire in the highly stylized and ritualistic environment of Heian-era Japan. Genji's romantic exploits, involving numerous lovers and his emotional entanglements, make it a landmark work in the exploration of human desire and sensuality. 1001 Nights from the Middle East, spanning the 9th to the 14th centuries. This famous collection of Middle Eastern and South Asian stories includes erotic tales woven into a broader framework of adventure, mystery, and moral lessons. Many of the stories, like The Fisherman and the Yinni or The Porter and the Three Ladies, feature sensuous descriptions of love, seduction, and passion. The characters in these tales often experience wild, forbidden desires, and many of the stories engage in eroticism within the context of Scheherazada's storytelling, playing with themes of power and submission. Les Liaisons Dangereuses by Pierre Choderlos de Laclos, published in France in 1782. This epistolary novel is one of the most famous erotic works in Western literature. Set in pre-revolutionary France, it centers on the sexual manipulation, games, and deceptions of aristocrats as they seek to control and seduce others for sport. The characters' correspondence reveals their cynical views on love, power, and sexuality, making the novel a dark and seductive exploration of human desires. Les Liaisons Dangereuses scandalized readers upon its release and continues to be a classic for its depiction of erotic power dynamics. Fanny Hill, or Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure by John Cleland, published in England in 1748. Often considered the first English-language erotic novel, Fanny Hill tells the story of a young woman's sexual adventures and journey from innocence to experience. Written by John Cleland while he was in debtor's prison, the novel is explicit in its descriptions of sexual encounters, though it also incorporates humor and a certain moral perspective on desire. Upon its release, Fanny Hill was considered scandalous and was banned for obscenity in various countries for centuries, becoming one of the most prosecuted and censored books in literary history. The Story of O by Pauline Réage, written in 1954, is one of the most famous 20th century works of erotic literature. Authored by French writer Anne Desclos under the pen name Pauline Réage, this novel delves into themes of dominance and submission. It follows O, a beautiful Parisian woman who submits herself entirely to the will of her lover in a secret society where she undergoes intense sexual training. The novel is a highly stylized exploration of sadomasochism and has been influential in BDSM culture. Its frank portrayal of power and erotic control was groundbreaking at the time. Delta of Venus by Anais Nin, written in the 1940s, is a celebrated collection of short stories that depict passionate, sensuous, and often transgressive sexual relationships. Anais Nin, one of the most famous female writers of erotic fiction, wrote these stories for a private collector who commissioned erotic tales but wanted them to be as graphic as possible. Nin brought a lyrical, psychological depth to the stories, blending eroticism with emotional complexity and exploring themes of taboo, desire, and the intricacies of human sexuality. Justine by the Marquis de Sade, published in 1791, is one of the most notorious works in the realm of erotic literature. The Marquis de Sade is infamous for his explicit and often violent explorations of human sexuality. Justine recounts the sufferings of a virtuous woman in a world where corruption and depravity triumph. The novel is filled with sadomasochistic themes, and the term sadism derives from Sade's name due to his writing's relentless emphasis on cruelty and the mingling of pleasure and pain. Though undeniably brutal, Justine has become a key text in the canon of erotic literature. Venus in Furs by Leopold von Sacher-Masoch, published in 1870, is perhaps the best-known work of Leopold von Sacher-Masoch. His name gave rise to the term masochism. The story revolves around a man named Severin, who desires to be dominated by a woman, Wanda, and submits himself to her in a relationship of power and submission. Venus in Furs explores the psychological dimensions of sexual domination and submission, combining eroticism with philosophical discussions about power, desire, and gender dynamics. The Perfumed Garden by Muhammad ibn Muhammad al-Nafsawi, written in the 15th century, is known as an Arabic Kama Sutra. This treatise on sex, love, and relationships was penned by the North African scholar Muhammad al-Nafsawi. The book offers practical advice on sexual techniques and foreplay, with a strong emphasis on mutual pleasure and respect between partners. Unlike some Western erotic works, The Perfumed Garden tends to frame eroticism in a positive, holistic light, celebrating sexual pleasure as a part of life and love. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, published in 1955, is often regarded as one of the greatest novels of the 20th century, despite its controversy. The story revolves around Humbert Humbert, an older man who becomes erotically obsessed with a 12-year-old girl, Dolores Hayes, whom he nicknames Lolita. While not pornographic, the novel is filled with Humbert's unsettling and obsessive sexual desires. Nabokov's masterful use of language, along with the psychological depth of his characters, makes Lolita a complex and provocative exploration of taboo, erotic desire. Throughout history, erotic literature has explored the many facets of human sexuality, from passion and love to power, taboo, and transgression. These texts often reflect the cultural and moral landscapes of their times, challenging societal norms and delving into the deepest, sometimes darkest, corners of desire. Whether through philosophical treatises, epic narratives, or intimate confessions, erotic literature continues to push boundaries and explore the complexities of human relationships and sexuality.